Hi everyone, welcome. This is Mainely Watches and I'm Nick. Thank you for joining me today. Last week, in the last episode, we were talking all things Doxa. In fact, the last three episodes we've featured Doxas on my channel. We started out with the Doxa Sub 200, then we looked at the Doxa Sub 300, and finally last episode we had the Doxa Sub 750T. And I had promised you that I had a bit of a special Doxa that we were going to look at. And today I'm very pleased to give you a view of my DOXA DECO. This is a really unique watch. The DOXA DECO was released in 2005. I believe this is a 2007 model. As you'll notice, it's a dress watch. It's not your typical Doxa sub. This is actually, Doxa called it a re-edition, but it's based on their mid-century 1950s Doxa Grafic, which was a dress watch that Doxa had. And the Graphic was a pretty popular watch. I think Doxa had them for the 50s and the 60s. And, you know, during their renaissance of Doxa, shall we say, in the early 2000s, one of their re-releases was this watch here, the Deco. It's not strictly speaking a re-edition of a past watch. It is a recreation of the Doxa Graphic, but in a larger size. So we're going to delve into this guy. It's a really unique watch for Doxa, and of course it's a modern Doxa, this one being 18 years old. And it's really unlike anything that was in the current Doxa lineup at the time, and even today they don't have a dress watch. They're all back to their subs. So this is kind of a unique piece. They only released 500 of these. And judging by the fact that it was released in 2005 and this watch came out in 2007, I guess it wasn't a big seller. Because people know Doxa for their subs. So we're going to flip the camera around and get talking about this Doxa Deco. The Doxa Deco was released in 2005. Doxa called it a re-edition, but it is a watch that is inspired by the legendary Doxa Grafic, which came out in the mid-century, 1956 to be precise. So they called it a re-edition. It really is a reimagination of the Doxa Grafic, but in a much larger size. You can see, just for comparison, I have the watch next to the Sub 300. And that gives you an idea the size of this guy. It's not a small watch, but it is it is obviously a tank style watch, very common in the 1950s. Part of Doxa's rebirth in the early 2000s was releasing these re-editions and new interpretations. And the Deco was released, as I said, in 2005. No doubt Rick Murai was influential in this release. It really was Doxa's only dress watch in the 2000s, and I believe it still is the only dress watch that Doxa has made in recent years, if you don't consider the sub being a dress watch. So let's take a look at this guy. It's an interesting watch. First, the specs. The width of the watch is 35 millimeters, so it's a 35 millimeter. The lug length is 41, and the lug width is a little bit odd. It's almost 23 millimeters. Originally, these watches were sold on a stainless steel bracelet, and they also came with a calfskin leather strap. The stainless steel bracelet is all high polished. It's a gorgeous piece of work, but it's very heavy, and I found it almost too heavy. So I've put this watch on this very nice ostrich leather strap, which I think suits it. So yeah, we've got a nice square case design, that odd lug size. If we look at the side profile, you'll notice at first the watch almost looks asymmetrical, but it's not. You'll notice there is a very faint protrusion here, which acts as a crown guard. And indeed, they have put that there as a crown guard. It's not on the other side of the watch. But look at the profile of this watch. Look how it curves the wrist. It is a wonderful profile. Signed crown. It's not a screw-down crown. But the real surprise is when we flip the watch over and look at the back. Have you seen a modern Doxa with an exhibition case back? How cool is that? And not only is it an exhibition case back, but the crystal, and this is a sapphire crystal, it actually is curved. You can see there's a very faint curve to it. How many watches with exhibition case backs have a curved crystal? That's really cool. So on the back it says sapphire crystal, water resistant, 5 atmosphere, so 50 meters, which is fine for a dress watch. The case back is held in with 4 screws, which again is typical with these type of tank dress watches. You'll see there is a lovely movement in here, DOXA decorated. The movement is a ETA 2824-2. And this is a certified chronometer, so it is a cost chronometer. And indeed, it's spot on with the timekeeping. But absolutely lovely movement. See if I can zoom in here a bit and give you a view of it, how they've decorated it. Just lovely. Very well done. So that's the ETA 2824 and the exhibition case back. We flip the watch around again. You'll see all polished, all high polished. There is no brushing on this watch at all. Everything is high polished. Beautiful curved sapphire crystal. They have treated it with anti-reflective, so very nicely done. The watch face is really unique. Look at that date window. How often do you see that? And this is inspired from the original Doxa Grafic, which had that date window up at the 10:30 position. So that's really cool. There is not a lot of lume on this watch. There is a little bit of lume applied on the hour and the minute hand, and that's it. So it's not really functional at night. It gives you some indication of the time, but yeah, it's not a bright watch. But very unique design on the dial. And, you know, keep in mind, this is a Doxa. This is a modern Doxa. Pretty cool. At least I like it. All applied indices, and again, they're all polished. Absolutely lovely. And I like that little inner minute track that they've done. That's pretty cool. And you can see very nice smooth sweep on the movement. The crown is a little small. It is, you know, as I said, it's not a screw down crown, so it is, you know, it is something you can just pull out, and it is easy enough to pull it out. I mean, it's not that tough. It is a little difficult to hand wind, should you want to hand wind it because of those crown guards, but again, it works. I can't complain about it. They're much worse dress watches, but it is, you know, it does protect the crown very nicely. The crown is signed. You can see it's got Doxa written on there, and yeah, just overall, it's a lovely piece. Like I said, I have not worn this with a bracelet. The bracelet is all high polished, and it's kind of a chunky looking affair. It's a little too blingy for my taste. It is a beautiful bracelet, very well made, but it's heavy. In terms of the weight, I mean, this watch, it is comparable in weight to the sub 300, I would have to say. And I mean, look at the case size. It's not a small watch. So it is kind of a unique piece. Like I said, Doxa only made 500 of these, so they're not a whole lot of them out there. They do pop up time to time on the secondary market, but it's just a really cool piece. It is really a 1950s sort of inspired watch, and that's what I really appreciate about it. And you know, it keeps bloody good time too with that COSC certified ETA movement. So it's a cool piece, and I'm very glad to have this in my collection. On the wrist today, I'll just zoom out. I am wearing a Aquastar, and this is a Aquastar Deep Star 2. This is a new release from Aquastar. That company now has been reborn under the guidance of Rick Marai, who helped bring a lot of the Doxas back to us. So it's kind of nice to see Rick is pursuing his work, reviving some of these legacy Swiss diving brands like Aquastar. But yeah, today the Doxa is what we're talking about, and I think it's a cool piece. I'd love to hear anybody's comments. If any of you own one of these or know some history about it, I'll put up some screenshots on this video of some of the information I could find. I believe the initial retail price on these when Doxa released them in 2005, it showed as $699. And again, that was in 2005. The movement is that ETA 2824. Not all of them were COSC certified. When I have been looking at some online that have come up for sale, there are some differences in the dials, and not all of them say chronometer. So that is kind of interesting. And I have seen at least one with a white dial that there were some photos on the internet of. Majority are this sort of black, but there have been some differences in the dials, so that's really interesting. But, you know, like I said, there's not a lot of information out there on the DOXA DECO. So if any of you out there have a lot of info on it or know something about it, I'd love to hear your comments. I think it's a really cool piece. I'm glad to have it in my collection, and I absolutely love wearing it. It's a very comfortable watch on the wrist. The case is only 10 millimeters thick, by the way, so it's thin for an ETA, and you know, by Doxa standards, if we compare it to the sub 300, which is already a fairly thin watch, you know, it's pretty wearable. But yeah, lovely piece. Not much else I can say. I don't have a whole lot of info on it. It's a cool piece, and hope you guys can give me some comments or your thoughts on it. As always, guys, these videos are not sponsored. This is my own watch. Nobody is compensating me for it, and these are just my own opinions. I enjoy sharing things with you. Next week we will continue on our legacy. I do not have another Doxa in the plans for next week, but I think we're going to get into some of the synchrons. I mentioned that in my last video. I showed you a modern synchron that I have, and you know, as I said, Rick Marai has been a busy man since he left Doxa. It's kind of exciting to see that some of these brands are being revived. So I think we'll take a look next week at the synchron. That'll be the Poseidon. Maybe I'll do something else. We'll see. But I'm kind of in this vintage mood. We've also got the Aquastar Deep Star 2 we can talk about. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe to my channel. And if anybody has any info on this Doxa Deco, I would love to hear it. Because like I said, information on these guys is pretty scarce, but it's a cool watch nonetheless, and especially for that it's a Doxa, a tank, I think it's just cool. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, and we'll catch you again on the next episode.